Well, Black and White Network yesterday, the world found out that Joe Biden had prostate cancer, but it was in the late stages. It was pretty much the worst case that you could actually possibly get, which is pretty shocking, considering he's a former president and they usually get the best medical care there is. How did this happen? A lot of people are speculating that it was actually more cover up of Biden's health. I think it's been pretty clear, guys, during Joe Biden's occupation in the Oval Office, his health was declining. The man was falling upstairs, falling downstairs, falling asleep. And then during that debate with Trump, the wheels fell off, at least publicly. We already knew that Joe Biden was exactly what he was. The man has memory problems. He's stuttering. The herd tapes come out. The Democrats got rid of him. In a way, man, I almost feel kind of bad for Biden because now his own party has thrown him under the bus. The man was clearly a puppet. He was never in charge whatsoever. Now, this diagnosis with prostate cancer is extremely serious, folks. But guys, it seems like Joe Biden may have actually known about this cancer, dare I say, back in 2022. Yeah, prostate cancer, man. Very easy to actually diagnose. And 2022 was what, 3 years ago? I guess maybe Joe Biden actually knew about this. And did they actually do anything about the cancer? I'm not really sure. Because in this clip we're going to watch, guys, Joe Biden actually says that he actually has cancer. But of course, during that time, Joe Biden was actually losing his mind. But maybe he was actually telling the truth about this. Now, in this clip, he doesn't actually say what type of cancer he has. But it's still kind of concerning, guys. And this is not, the mole that was actually on his chest that he got removed that was actually cancerous. No, I don't believe that's the case. Let's go ahead and get into it, guys. Right over here. Lives of TikTok actually posts this right here. In 2022, Biden said he had cancer. We were told it was just a gaffe. How long did they know? Know for? Who decided to cover it up? These people lied to our faces for 4 years. They need to be held accountable. Now, let's listen into Biden right here back in 2022. Here we go.
And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening. You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't, for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
Yeah, you guys heard that right there. Joe Biden says he had cancer. Now, is there any connection? I'm not really sure. But right over here on the Daily Caller here, Fox News brings on a medical analyst, and he says that he's very, very concerned. And he's stunned that this cancer is that advanced. What was going on, guys? What was going on? It metastasized to the bone. How was this actually allowed to happen? I'm not really sure. But let's go ahead and listen in to this Fox News clip here. Here we go.
Let's bring in Dr. Mark Siegel, Fox News senior medical analyst. Let me read again from that news release that we got from former President Biden's office, Doctor. It says he was diagnosed with prostate cancer characterized by a Gleason score of 9, grade group 5, with metastasis to the bone. That doesn't sound good, Doctor.
Gleason 9, John, means that it's in a very aggressive form of cancer, and group 5 means that within that, it's the most aggressive type. That means it has the highest risk of spread, which obviously he has had. He's presenting with urinary symptoms, and I want the viewer to know that most of the time prostate cancer would be asymptomatic. When it reaches the point where you already have urinary symptoms, that's also a sign that it's pretty far advanced. When they say that it is hormone responsive, that likely means that they think that by decreasing testosterone, it can be a testosterone-dependent cancer, that it will respond. The two types of therapy they use for that is one called Lupron, which stops testosterone production, and the other is a drug like or called Casodex or like Casodex, which stops testosterone from binding. They also might decide, and I don't know this, but sometimes they decide to do more than one therapy. They might try to take the prostate out, do radiation, and the hormone therapy altogether. That's not uncommon. Over 80% of men over the age of 80 have some prostate cancer cells in their body. So this is a very high likelihood in all men. And if it's this far advanced, meaning Gleason 9 metastasized to the bone, the 5-year survival rate is somewhere between 30 and 40%. Again, depending on how well he responds to therapy. One of the questions on everyone's mind, and you just heard this from the reporter, is what about last year's PSA? You know, this was found by physical examination, by a prostate exam. A lot of times we find an elevation in prostate-specific antigen, a PSA, and then we go after it, get an MRI. I mean, he must have had the best possible care here. I'm a little taken aback that it's this far advanced and very, very concerned about it.
Yeah, me too. Is that far advanced? That's pretty stunning. Now, for one thing, guys, Joe Biden needs to lay off the ice cream. Man, cancer is a metabolic disease. Okay? It's a metabolic disease. And Joe Biden definitely likes eating refined sugar. And guess what? Cancer cells love that stuff. He needs to lay off the ice cream. Honestly, guys, he needs to go on a carnivore diet. He needs to eat no carbs at all. Because when it comes to cancer, cancer can't survive without glucose. It needs that sugar. But anyway, let's continue.
That's the question I was going to ask you. This is a former president of the United States. He's supposed to be getting, as you say, the best medical care in the world. And yet, you know, just a few months after he leaves office, this prostate cancer is advanced enough that it has metastasized to the bone. That's just not good.
No, and then we don't have enough information for me to be sure of the following statement, but I want everyone to know that the PSA, though, I think it's a really great test, and I do it on every male over the age of 45. Sometimes it can be low, and you still could have this. It's not 100%. I'm not saying his was low. It wasn't written as I don't recall it being indicated there. But if it's high, you go after it. And again, to reach the point of symptoms, we most of the time we can diagnose it before. Although, you know, it may very well be that he's hormone responsive, and that's what we're all hoping and praying for here. We're looking to see what the radiation oncologist says. Are they going to give radiation? They've advanced radiation therapy dramatically for prostate cancer. They can target it. They can use seeds. It has less side effects than it used to. And the same thing with robotic prostatectomy is unbelievable now at getting the prostate out. So a lot of times the prostate would be taken out, they would give radiation and then give the hormone therapy. They're not saying that at this point.
It is, as you say, one of the most treatable forms of cancer, but you have to catch it fairly early, right?
Yeah.
Well, you have to catch it if you catch it while it's still within the capsule, within the prostate itself, it's curable most of the time. When it's metastasized, like here to the bone, much less so. And again, this aggressive, very, very concerning, means that it probably spread pretty fast. They might try to radiate that lesion they found on the bone. They're definitely going to give hormone therapy here. They'll know more in a few months about how responsive it is. When the goal is to get it before it leaves the prostate. When it's left the prostate, it becomes much more difficult to cure.
Dr. Siegel, stay with us for just a moment. We want to check in with senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy.
They're not going to actually get Peter Ducey. Now, something just came to my mind, guys. So my uncle, he was diagnosed with, I want to say like prostate cancer. Maybe it's actually like stage 1. He's 70. Okay. And he did his treatment, and guess what? He's in the clear. So how does a former president, how do they actually let that get that bad for him? Okay. My uncle's no politician or anything. He's just an average person. And they caught his early, very early. So I just don't get this, man.
Peter, obviously you were there at the White House for the full run of the Biden administration. Are you as surprised as I am at this news regarding the former president?
And like I said, Peter Ducey.
We're looking for Peter Ducey, our senior White House correspondent. Peter, are you able to hear me? All right, we have lost our connection with Peter Ducey, but we will try to reestablish that and get back to him in just a moment. In terms of other symptoms, other problems that this might cause the former president, the fact that they're going to be treating him for this prostate cancer, Dr. Siegel, is there anything in particular that is going to afflict him? Anything particularly uncomfortable or, I don't know, bothersome, I guess, from this treatment regimen?
That's a really great question, and that's one of the reasons I'm thinking maybe they would take the prostate out, which is to decrease that amount of urinary symptoms, and the same with radiation. I'm assuming it hasn't gone anywhere else than the bone, not to the brain, not to the liver. But the other thing I'm concerned about is bone pain, because those metastases to the bone can be pretty painful, which is another reason I think they would radiate that too. And try to decrease it so it wouldn't cause pain. But the other thing you're alluding to is, what about the side effects of the medication? And they can make you pretty fatigued. That's the main thing. They make you pretty fatigued and listless and not quite yourself. So that's what we would look out for the Lupron. For sure, he's going to be getting Lupron.
All right, Dr. Siegel, again, stay with us. We have reestablished our connection with senior White House correspondent Peter Ducey. Peter, I mentioned before you were in the White House for the run of the Biden administration.
And that's still not going to get Peter Ducey.
Does it surprise you that just months after he left office, we're finding out that he's got a fairly advanced case of prostate cancer? Obviously, the gremlins are in the audio room tonight because we cannot establish a connection with Peter Ducey, our senior White House correspondent. So, Dr. Siegel, again, you're not treating the former president, but obviously you know a lot about how this is treated, and the success rate is generally pretty good, you're saying. But we can expect some tough times, maybe some uncomfortable times for the former president.
Here is going to be how quickly he responds to early treatment. He's already having urinary symptoms. You want to reverse that so he doesn't get urinary obstruction. Again, the bone and the bone pain. And I suspect a full court press, and over the first 3 to 6 months, we should know how well he's responding. It's both good and bad that they're saying that it will be responding to hormone therapy. That's good, but the aggressive part of this is bad, that it's been identified as a Gleason 9 and Group 5, which is the most aggressive kind we have. And it may very well be this is why it spread so quickly without your question to Peter Ducey, anyone knowing about this. It would be really surprising if they weren't doing a very close screening on this, because everybody knows in the medical community that this is the one cancer in men you really look out for. And as I said, 80% of those over the age of 80 years old have some prostate cancer cells, no matter what. He doesn't seem to have a lot of risk factors that I would think about other than age, but age is enough, and he's 82, so that's...
Yeah, so you guys heard that right there, man. You guys heard that right there. Somewhere along the line, man, the people around Joe Biden, man, they dropped the ball. They dropped the ball big time. How in the world did it get this bad? Presidents, man, they get the best medical care. You guys have noticed, that former presidents don't die early. Have you noticed that? Jimmy Carter just died at 100. Gerald Ford, he was pretty old too when he passed away. George H.W. Bush was in his 90s. Bill Clinton is 78, still going strong. I believe W2, I believe they're both in pretty good health. Now, Bill Clinton did have a heart attack. What was that, about 5 years or so ago? Something like that. President Trump is still kicking at 78. Presidents seem to live a long time. They do. Now, I pray to God, man, that Joe Biden can actually recover. But the 5-year survival rate is like 30 to 40%. So I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know what's going to happen, guys. But that's just my thoughts on this. What do you guys think of this? Black and White Network fans, let us know what you think about all this in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And we'll catch you next time.